Hello and welcome to anybody who is returning. Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for joining me today and your continued support in this podcast. And if this is your first time, welcome, welcome. I hope that you enjoy what you are about to hear. I'm trying something new the first time. I am trying to create a video to put on my YouTube channel at the same time as I can put the audio on my podcast. So if you are somebody who likes to see my face while I talk, head on over to my YouTube channel. I'll put that link in the bio. If you just like to, not in the bio, below. If you just like to listen to the podcast, then stay right here and listen to the podcast. So what's kind of been going on for me and what I feel like has been going on for the world is really all of this stuff surrounding what's been going on in Israel and Palestine. There's a lot of feelings and emotions that many, if not literally the entire world, are experiencing and trying to live with at the same time. Even for people like me who don't seek out the news, like I don't sit down and watch the news, I don't sit down and read the news. All I get is tidbits of like the headlines and the articles, and if I hear it from like my husband or clients or friends and family. Um, so you may be directly affected by what's going on, whether you live in Palestine, whether you live in Israel, or you may have friends, family that live there, or you may be Jewish or Israeli or Palestinian. Um, but even if you don't, even if you're not, like I don't know anybody who lives there. I do have Jewish clients and Jewish friends, but I am not directly affected by anything that's going on there. There's this thing called collective trauma. It's an indirect effect that we can all feel worldwide. It's not something that you can see, and it's not something that you can escape from. It's kind of where we are. And what does it mean to kind of be in this space where we are collectively feeling this trauma at an individual state, right? In an individual space. Like I'm feeling it, you're feeling it, but I'm me and you're you. So what does it look like for me versus what does it look like for you? Have you ever went out with someone and before you met up with them, you were cool, you felt fine, you felt regulated or good in your space? And then as the time goes on, hanging out with them, you feel fatigued, you feel kind of down, or just somewhat out of sorts. That's collective. So I'm not directly affected. I didn't have a bad day. I didn't have any bad news. I don't feel um shitty from like physical or whatever, but hanging out with somebody who does, I am collecting their vibes. I'm collecting their feelings, and that bounces off of me. It stays inside of me. It ruminates inside of me until I can find a way to identify it, work with it, release it, live with it, whatever, right? Um, and you can even ask them, like, hey, what's going on? And they may say nothing. I just feel blah today for some reason. Well, they could have been at work on a train, they could have been just cut off. And it's like a small little thing, but they're not letting go of it, and you feel it. It's contagious. In Eastern medicine, we refer to this as energy vampires. And it's not to say it in a negative sense so much as like you suck the life out of me. But what it is when I'm in a down space and you're near me, it's hard for me to shift in the moment in an instant. Some of us work on it, some of us are very good at it. And sometimes what it takes is me just saying, God, like I feel like I'm upset because this has happened today, or whatever else. Let me just take a moment, take a couple deep breaths, and let's try to continue on with our evening or this and that, and like in a more positive way. Sometimes what happens is if I'm down and my husband wants me to feel better, he's gonna like oh, hey, like, I saw this funny thing. Can I get you anything? This and that. And he's going to give me his energy. And in return, I'm giving it back to him. Like he's collecting mine and giving me his. And that's the energy vampire. Like I'm taking yours and you're getting mine. Um, it's not intentional. It's this like beautiful and annoying thing that humans do. It's that duality of like being able to help somebody, being so interconnected with each other and humanity and the human race. Like this is a piece of humanity and being human, like the human race. And it also sucks because we're so interconnected. Um, in Eastern medicine, we also, like while I'm massaging a client, if they sigh, like they just, I literally will take my hands off of them just during that sigh because that is believed to be a shift. They're trying to let their spirit shift. And palms of the hands are the portals of energy. So keep them, if I keep my hands on them and they're trying to reset their chi, reset their spirit with a sigh, I can either take their reset or I can take their negativity or I can give them whatever I'm going through. So you do, just like take my palms off so that there's no transfer of energy. I think of that every time I hear someone sigh or I sigh. It's like this beautiful way of the body and the spirit working together to just regulate the system because it's instinctually known that it needs a moment to collect some peace. Like I think that's just one of the amazing things the body can do for itself. So going back, so energy spreads amongst people, whether we like it or not. The majority of us don't meditate enough and center enough to like be less impactful and less impacted by indirect trauma. So we walk around with this extra weight on our shoulders. I know even I have been this last couple weeks, even I have been. So what does it look like? Well, I'm hearing a lot of sadness, of course, right? War and death is sad. It's just such a confusing thing. And I keep saying over and over, I don't get it. I don't get the hate that's behind all of it. I obviously don't understand the um, generational upbringing of people in certain spaces and countries in wartime mentalities because I am a 41-year-old woman born and raised in the United States, and my culture, my upbringing is very not hateful. I've been hateful, but overall, I don't believe that it's okay to hurt innocent people. So, for whatever reason, I just don't believe that. And I think that's just kind of blows my mind as to why that happens, where it comes from, why it's even needed. Um, hmm. So I just stay in a space of confusion because I understand that I don't understand, and I understand that I'm not going to understand, and I understand that um, people who believe in it, people who think that it's okay, it's because of repression, it's because of land, it's because of losing their voices. Like I know that they're going to believe what they believe, and so I'm okay with staying in this piece of confusion, this space, um, and that this is just a value of mine. Okay. There's also a lot of guilt and shame, a sense of shame going around. How do we continue living while these things are going on in different parts of the world, right? How do we continue living, laughing, loving, breathing, knowing that like people are getting bombed and blown up and like babies are dying and innocent people are getting killed? A couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago now, we celebrated my daughter's birthday. She had a birthday party at this really cute place, and it was like an artsy place, and they did crafts and they did like a bubble snow thing, and the kids had so much fun. the parents stayed. We had pizza and we had these like organic cupcakes and veggies and music and talking, and there's so much laughter. The kids had so much fun. And a couple times during the party, I just kept thinking, God, is this okay? Is this okay that I'm here and I'm celebrating life? And I'm not only celebrating life, but I'm celebrating it so loudly. And there are people dying right now. And even if they're not dying, they're hiding in quote unquote bomb shelters, and they're waiting for the next rumbling, the next siren, the next bomb. And I'm over here and I'm thinking about if they're going to do the limbo next, or if they're going to do the singing of the birthday part, like the happy birthday song. Um, so I think that, during all this, I felt guilty, and I think that's normal. And I also think like, okay, so what do you do with that? What do you do with um that feeling? How do you do this, and how do you be happy and guilty? How do you celebrate and mourn at the same time? Then I think of my vibration, that it's important too. The ability to laugh and create life combats hatred, right? I feel guilty. The next step is melancholy. And below that is anger. What goes with anger could be blame or violence, right? Blame or hatred. So if I have to choose how to indirectly help with the things going on around the world and inside my country and even community, is to spread love and acceptance and laughter. That's definitely something I can give. So if for that moment, for those 2 hours, I give every adult and child in that room a break. I give them a sense of love and laughter and goodness and joy and safety and like coping. If anything else, you're just not on your phone listening to the news. You're just not aware. It's not even in the conversation. You get 2 hours of this blissful ignorance of what's going on in the world. And to me, that creates a moment of sanity, a moment of mental stability and balance, right? For me, that to me is a contribution. Mel Robbins often talks about if you feel sad and down about something, the best thing to do is help someone who needs it, help someone else out. If you feel like that you can't help yourself, the best thing to do is turn around and help somebody else. That can be on any level. Science has shown as many studies on being melancholy and depressed, and once you have helped someone else, you're more in an enlightened space, right? You've literally shifted yourself. So if you feel like you're stuck here and I can't move because I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm stuck. If I look at like, okay, so I'm stuck. What can I do for somebody else? Even if it's going on Facebook, you find somebody who's having a bad day and you comment and you say, I hope you have a good rest of your day. Or I hear you, I'm here for you, you're not alone. That moves you from here to here or here. You don't have to keep moving forward. Sorry for anybody who's not watching me. It moves you a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left, which creates movement. And that in the moment, if that's what you can do, then that's what you do. And it does help you and somebody else. That's kind of the science base behind that helping other people. I think it's really important to be able to identify where you're feeling the indirect trauma and how it shows up in your life. Where meaning in your body. If you're feeling it like an anxiety, you're feeling it like an indigestion, you're feeling it like your stomach is bothering you, you don't really have an appetite, physical muscle tension in the neck and the shoulders, low back. Maybe you have like an inflammatory issue in the body, like arthritis or IBS or fibromyalgia, and that's been ignited, and you're like weather's okay, whatever, right? Influx in maybe you're overeating, maybe you have headaches, and that's been like an influx. I was literally on a call with a fellow entrepreneur and motivational speaker, and we were talking about the emotions surrounding the war in Israel and Palestine. I told her that I had noticed a shortness in my patience, meaning that I had none. Oh, gone. It's very short. It was like tiny speck on the spectrum of patience. And I sat and thought, why all of a sudden I this is where the work comes in. It's like interrelational, interpersonal work. I noticed that I was so impatient that I had none. And I was like, why am I so usually what happens is if there's an influx, all of a sudden we have extra. The kids are requiring extra. I sign them up for way too many activities, or this one particular activity is asking for more, or somebody's sick and I'm sleeping less, or there's a project due and that's requiring much more of my time. Then I'm like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Like I'm worn too thin, my plate's too full. This, I was like, nothing has changed activity wise, physically, medically. What is going on? Why all of a sudden am I so impatient? And it took me a little bit, but I realized, oh, I think this is my where I'm holding, how I'm carrying this indirect trauma. This is me carrying the vibe of what's going on in the world. Um, and so that's like, you start with that piece of where am I carrying this? What does it feel like? What does it look like internally and externally? How is it coming into my life? Um, Also, I have not been posting a whole lot for my business. Um, Increasing all things positive in relationships, working on self seems so troubling for me and small and menial compared to other people currently being kidnapped and missing and they're hostages and hospitals are being blown up and babies are dying and like women are giving birth and not even knowing if they're gonna like get blown up while they're giving birth and like what's life gonna look like the next 5 minutes versus a 5-year plan for your relationship. And um it's just that's so big for me is posting on these things that seem so small right now, right? Like, man, we should all be loving each other, right? Easy done, period on the end of the sentence. Um, and lastly, the other night I had this god awful nightmare. God awful. I was walking a trail. In hindsight, that day, that night, we had went to the Rise of the Jack-o'-lanterns, which you walk along a trail, you see all these beautifully carved pumpkins or like artwork, like pieces of art that you wish you could just freeze in time. Well, I mean, you can by taking pictures. It was dark. It was a wooded area, and there were like zombies, cutouts with red eyes glowing and stuff like that. And I remember thinking in that experience, my husband and I actually talked about this. We both had the thoughts that this would be such a prime area for a bombing to occur. Like there was hundreds of people, hundreds, and it's geared towards families and kids. It would be such a great area to be like, to hit for vengeance and for spite, right? So, of course, I'm in a nightmare. I'm walking on the trail, and shit blew up. There was commotion, craziness, and I just grabbed my kids and held on tight while trying to get off the trail into the wooded area like they do in the movies and keep them calm and quiet. Like, don't let anybody hear us, right? Like, just be quiet. The feeling of panic and hysteria was so thick that it woke me up. I sleep like the dead, like the dead. Woke me up. That's how intense it was. All this felt, all of this went on for days and days and days and days and days from this indirect collective trauma. So it's real. It's real. It's as real for me as it is for you, as it is for everyone. whether or not we're on different sides of the table, whether or not I'm far right, you're far left, whether or not I'm black, you're white, whether or not I'm a woman, you're a man, it doesn't matter. We're all feeling it. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting. Emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, exhausting. So what do? As I mentioned before, help others. Also, check in with you. How am I feeling? How am I doing? How am I existing? How am I being? What do I need right now that will serve me? Big difference if I say, what do I need right now? And I say chocolate for days and draw the shades. No contact with anybody. Cancel all appointments and just hide under a rock. That being said, time alone and a balance of drawing the shades can be beneficial. Just knowing when to come out of that is important. What I mean by checking in with me, how am I existing? How am I feeling? How am I doing? Well, I find myself a little bit more snappy today. I find myself a little bit more melancholy today. Where do I feel that? I feel this heaviness in my neck and shoulders. And you know what? Actually, my neck is getting tense and tight, and I feel like I'm about to get a headache. Okay, so what can I do that serves me right now? I'm definitely not going to get on my phone because, like I said, I don't watch the news, but the headlines come up on my phone. So I can't even look because they pop up. Can't go on Facebook, can't go on Instagram. If you watch the news, listen to news, cannot. You have to give yourself a break. Okay. Taking deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Maybe if it is your neck, you're doing stretches, you're looking up things, yoga, you have a hot pack, you have an ice pack, those types of things. Okay. Those are serving us, not just hoping. We're not just putting a band-aid on a negative feeling. We're literally trying to work through the negative feeling to get rid of it, to make it go away in the moment so that it doesn't pile up on top of many, many, many negative emotions to make us just either completely lose our shit or end up completely secluded and hating everybody. One day last week, I was having a really rough morning and I came home like, okay, I need to take the dog for a run or work out or something like physically, physically demanding. I'm in need of getting this energy like off of me, out of me. Do you know what I did? I watched the movie Clueless from beginning to end. Yes, 1996, I think it was. Alicia Silverstone, as if. And I drank a cup of coffee and I ate a cupcake. That was from my daughter's birthday party, a leftover cupcake. Um, I went from a run to nah, just plop my ass on the couch and eat a cupcake. So was that a coping thing? Yeah, that was a coping thing. Did it benefit me? Yeah, for a moment it did. For a moment it did. Just to take my mind off of it, and partially because of the nostalgia around the movie, because I was a teen when it came out and I had such good memories watching it. It was really funny, like connection of my current self and then my little teenage self. When I finished it though, when I finished the movie, I really felt this sense of heaviness set in. So I was now in this spiral, like I was actually worse than I was before. And I thought of a technique again from the wonderful Mel Robbins, and she calls it the 5-second rule. When you feel physically stuck, and like I was literally sitting my ass on the couch, and I was like, oh, so heavy with melancholy, so heavy with this sense of dread, right? It was even worse than when I got home. So the 5-second rule is you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you move. Physically move. And I did. 3, 2, 1, move. I got up off the couch and I thought of something to do that was like non-emotionally taxing, non-physically taxing, did not require a lot of my effort, and I started to clean. Right? It's like meticulous, it's like robotic, just doesn't require much thought at all. Start cleaning, and I put my podcast on, and I started listening to my podcast, and something in the podcast, I can't even tell you what it was, but something in the podcast and the nostalgia from the movie and the shifting of physical literally got me all out of all of it. All of it. I was like 100% back on. I was good to go. Okay. Fully understanding why I was there, what I was doing. So check in with yourself. Ask what you need. Work on that. Check in with yourself again. Implement the tools that will help you shift out of the negative space you're in. Help others, have fun, laugh, and be with people that you enjoy being around. If you want to donate or help organizations that are helping other parts of the world, do that. Also, stop watching so much social media. When these things happen, of course, it's all over the place. But it's never stopped. It's never stopped. There's inter-country wars going on all the time, even in ours. Sex trafficking, drugs, violence, rape, domestic violence. It's every single day, all day, something is happening negative and awful to victims, to innocent people, children, women, men of all ages, all colors, all religions, all demographics. Sometimes I think about, you know, what would happen if social media spent a whole day, all social media, the news, and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and who else is there? LinkedIn and Twitter. If we focus all day on kids, right? All that was posted, if all that was said was us interviewing kids, ours, everybody's asking them questions on how to. Hey, how do you think we should love each other? What do you think kindness looks like? Hey, how would you express love to a friend? Hey, how would you help somebody today? We ask them all these questions about it, right? How do you stop fighting? Why do you think people fight? What do we need? What does world peace mean to you? If we were to ask kids that, oh my God, can you imagine what the feed would look like? Not only that, can you imagine what you would feel like? Can you imagine sitting and watching beautiful children talking about how to love, how to be kind, how to give, how to receive in their sweet, sweet, simplistic ways? I think that would take so much anger and so much hatred away from us. And it would shift the focal point of all the hate currently to be hope. Hope for today, hope for tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved ones.